Hey everyone, Cassius here. I'm on vacation the next few weeks, so this episode and the next few will be from various locations. Today is another installment of Shakespeare themes, this time Greek mythology, specifically the myth of Phaeton. As you probably know, Shakespeare uses a lot of Greek mythology in his writing, and the myths and legends that come up more than once are useful to know, so that way you have the repository of what these stories mean, and when he references them, you'll know exactly what to be thinking about. Today, I would like to go over the myth of Phaeton. Now, Phaeton was the demigod, half god, half mortal son of Helios or Apollo. Whichever mythology you go by, he is the son of the sun god, and he is a mortal man. Eventually, when he came of age, he was very annoyed at the fact that he didn't know his father, he'd never met him, and anxious to prove himself, he went to the palace of the sun god and asked for one promise. Now, Helios swore by the river Styx that whatever his son asked him to do, he would do it, and Phaeton asked him, I want to ride the chariot across the skies for one day. Now, this was such a daunting task that no other god, not even Zeus, was allowed to do it. In the myths that separate Helios and Apollo, Apollo also, besides Helios, has the right to do this, but literally no other god was able to. So obviously, Helios begged Phaeton, don't do this, don't ask me for this, anything but this, but Phaeton said, no, I want to do what you do. It went very badly. The horses knew that there was an inexperienced rider at the reins, and they started dragging the sun into the sky and down towards the earth, burning the stars, burning the earth, and eventually Zeus had to shoot him out of the sky with a thunderbolt to stop the mayhem. Phaeton fell to the earth and died. So this is the story of Phaeton, and it is referenced in 4 different Shakespeare plays. I'm going to go from most obscure to most famous. There's a really famous one that's in there, but I'll get to that last. The first play that I'd like to talk about is Henry VI Part 3. Now, Henry VI Part 3 is about a crazy civil war. The country is just falling apart. The Yorks and the Lancasters are fighting, and everything is absolute madness. So what are the 2 references to Phaeton? Both of the references are spoken by Lord Clifford, one of the most powerful members of the pro-Lancaster, pro-Henry VI faction. When he captures the Duke of York, along with the rest of the pro-Lancastrians, he says, Now Phaeton hath tumbled from his car and made an evening at the noontide prick. Basically, everything has gone crazy for you because you have fallen. The Duke of York, much like Phaeton, has aimed too high. He's saying, you wanted to be king? Well, too bad. You reached beyond your station, just like Phaeton did. You tried too hard, and you have now fallen, and you are going to die. The next reference that he makes to Phaeton is, O Phoebus, hadst thou never given consent that Phaeton should check thy fiery steeds, thy burning car had never scorched the earth. And this is as Lord Clifford is dying in battle. He is lamenting that Henry VI gave up power too easily, just as Helios gave power to his son, to the young, untested, incapable hands of his son, that Henry VI did not have the power that kings should have, and that's why his country is falling apart and why such a war was able to come and take out the pro-Lancastrian men, such as Lord Clifford, who will not live to the end of this scene. The next play that I would like to talk about, where Phaeton is referenced and becomes a theme of this scene, is Two Gentlemen of Verona. Now, Two Gentlemen of Verona has the story of Valentine, who falls in love with Sylvia, and Sylvia's father decides this is no good. He says, Why, Phaeton, wilt thou aspire to guide the heavenly car? Again, we're talking about people aspiring beyond their station. Valentine is a young upstart, and he's trying to do too much. And he's taunting him with saying, you're going to crash and burn. This plan is not so good for you. So that's the second. The third is from Richard II, when King Richard, another one of these troubled historical figures, he's being deposed, and he's on the walls of a castle. He's up on the higher level of the stage, and he is asked to come down to speak with his opponent, and he says, "Down, down I come, light glistering Phaeton, wanting the manage of unruly jades. I have lost control, I can't keep the power that I used to have, so of course I will come down, I will fall down," sort of invoking the instance where Zeus had to shoot Phaeton out of the sky. He feels like he's being shot out of the sky by his own weak control over his kingdom. And now, the big famous reference that is kind of important to get because there's a lot going on here. When Juliet, in Romeo and Juliet, says, "Come night," the whole come night speech, she starts it with saying, "Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately." So, okay, gallop apace, you fiery-footed steed. She's saying she wants night to happen now. So what she's asking for, it sounds really sweet, like, oh, I wish that night would come really fast. But the upshot here is that she's asking for something much more treacherous than she knows, or than a lot of people reading this speech know. She's really asking for a gross imbalance to occur. She is saying, if only we could upset everything and have the young, inexperienced people take over, that would be great for me. But what Phaeton does is not just bring night in immediately, but he's killed. He's this blaze of youthful ambition that does not quite work out. I wonder how that might relate to Romeo and Juliet. So with these 4 references to Phaeton, we see that Shakespeare, when he drops these mythological references, they tend to have these pretty intense meanings. I definitely recommend checking out the myth of Phaeton. It comes from Ovid's Metamorphoses and is absolutely one of my favorite Greek myths. That's why I kicked off this Greek myth thing with Phaeton, and I'll definitely be revisiting these topics that Shakespeare comes back to time and time again, because the more you know, the better your understanding of these plays will be, and the more you'll get out of these speeches, because the references are there, and it's certainly something that if you don't get it, you are going to be missing certain of the tone elements that Shakespeare is putting in there. So, with that, I bid you adieu. Till next time, I'm Cassius. Think of the world.